This video is looking at the BTEC Digital Information Technology Component 3 paper from Tuesday the 14th of January 2025. So just like every other one of these papers, you get all of the same features on the front. You're going to fill in your surname, your first name, your centre number and your candidate number. It tells you you've got an hour and a half, that's 90 minutes. Down here it tells you the total marks is 60. That means you're working at about a minute and a half per mark, which is generally plenty of time to do this. A reminder that you're going to be using black pen and you should answer all of the questions. Remember, if you answer a question, you've got a chance of getting a mark. If you don't answer it, you leave it blank, you are guaranteeing you get nothing. Each question has got the marks shown in brackets, so you've got an idea of how long to spend on each question. So we're going to start by working through this paper step by step. So we start with question 1. We've got our little scenario. We've got Star Jump being a fitness centre. The centre uses IT systems to store data and communicate with its customers. Into part A, and we've got a website is one communication platform the centre uses to communicate with customers. Give 2 other communication platforms the centre could use. So I'm going to start to have a look at my keywords. My keyword is a website, and I need to know that that is their communication platform. What's it asking me to do? Give 2 others. It's 2 marks, it's a give question, so that is just 2 simple responses and it's just stating the methods. So these are the 2 that I would go for, which would be email and social media. Another one that I've put into pink would be my 3rd choice, which would be voice over internet protocol or VoIP. So 2 easy marks, just a factual recall. So on to question 1b. This one tells us that biometrics is one way the centre can restrict user access to its customer data. So it's asking us to explain one benefit of using biometrics to restrict access to data. It's 2 marks for an explain, so that is a point and an expansion. So I've had a look at this and I've given you my preferred answer. The one benefit of biometrics I've got that it can't be guessed. There is my point. And then my expansion is it's part of a person, so it's unique to them. So I've got a point and an expansion for it. The other option that I would have gone for if it was a 4 marker and I needed 2, I would have gone for my point as can't forget it, and my expansion, it is always with them. Okay, so it's an explain, 2 marks, point, expansion. On to our next question. So part C, it says explain one level of permitted access that the centre could use to protect its data. So again, it is an explain question, so that's point and expansion, and they want 1. And they want us to explain one level of permitted access. So there are lots of different levels of access. You've got to explain 1, point, expansion. So you can clearly see that I've answered my question. My point is read only, and then my expansion, staff can read it but not change the data. There's my expansion. I've also put here the other 2 versions just in case that was something you thought of. So there is my point, read, write or full access. My expansion, read, write, staff can read and create. Full access, they can read, write and delete. So it's a nice simple question. It's really good if you get something that requires a very clear point expansion because you can structure your answers so it's nice and clear for the examiner. Our next question, we've got Star Jump Gym still. They're using a firewall and antivirus to protect their data. We've been asked to explain one way that a firewall can protect systems data. It's 2 marks, explain. It's a simple point plus expansion again. So I've gone through this, my explanation. Here is my point. It monitors the incoming and outgoing traffic. And then my expansion, it checks it against the rules, and then it could block suspicious file types. I've gone a little bit further because it will help you with revision, but to say it could block attachments which contain malware. This answer would have got 4 marks with the 4 marks available. On to part E, we're still talking about our gym, and we've got this time explain 2 ways, and it's looking at 2 ways an antivirus software can protect the centre's data. It's 4 marks. They've structured it nicely with 1 and 2, so you need point, expansion, and a point and expansion. So I've explained 2 ways. So for my point, I've said the antivirus scans the system. It's looking for patterns, and my expansion is that match its dictionary of known viruses. Remember, with an antivirus, it contains a list of all the known viruses, and it's comparing what you've got to that so that it recognises a virus. My second step, I've said it will alert the user to any threats, and then that way the user can decide what to do. And most antiviruses will give them an offer that they can delete or disinfect the files as they want. So a nice simple point expansion, explain 2. Right then, question 2. As ever, question 2 is a new scenario. So this time we've got Sunny Light, a factory that makes solar panels. It's got a team of customer service staff who deal with all the inquiries. Now here's some key information. The customer service staff all work from home. Then they're giving us some information. One drawback for staff of working from home is the rise in their household bills. It wants us to give 2 other drawbacks for the staff of working from home. These are really common questions about working from home. The key thing is you need to be looking for this key word here of who it is. So is it for the staff or is it for the business? Because the advantages and disadvantages differ for both. So this one, we've got a drawback for staff of working from home. They've told us an increase in bills. So you've got to give 2 different drawbacks for the staff of working from home. 2 marks, it's a dead simple answer the question job. So I've gone for the 2 key ones I would have stated would have been loneliness and distractions. You could also have gone for my other options, poor mental health or poor work-life balance. Again, nice simple factual recall. Question 2b, still on Sunny Light. The company is providing the customer service staff with laptops. We've got to explain one way that the staff can use power saving settings on the laptops to save electricity. So it's one way, it's explained, it's a point and expansion, and we're looking for those key power saving settings. So I have said my explanation, I've given what they could do, which is lower the brightness, there's my point. And then my expansion is it uses less power on the display. Other options, my point would be setting your laptop to sleep after it's not being used because my expansion that uses less power. Another dead easy obvious answer is battery saving mode. It's my point. My expansion is that will automatically reduce the power usage. So nice and simply, this wanted you to know what the power saving settings were and what they do. Right, part C, I've got an image here so I can see that this is already, I know this is going to be my annotation one. So it gives us our scenario. So we've got Sunny Light has got a project for making and installing solar panels for one of its customers. It is using a planning tool to manage the project. Looking down here, and I can see that that's a Gantt chart. We know the Gantt charts from our PSA. It's asking me to annotate the image. It wants me to identify and label 2 features of the planning tool, and then it wants me to state how each feature helps the project to be managed. So you'll get 2 marks for identifying and circling the features and 2 marks for explaining how each one helps the company manage the project. So these are the features that I have looked at. So I have gone for here, highlighting the title of the project. There's my mark. My second mark, it shows the project they're on. Then I've highlighted some of the dates and I've said it's clear timescales so they can see how long things will take. Down at the bottom I can see we've got day, week, month, so I've highlighted that and said it's good because they can see an overview or more detailed timescales. Down here we've got the staff code, so I've said it shows who's responsible for each task. And then down here we've got the tasks and the subtasks and they're in order. So I've now identified and labelled 2, you can see I've done 4, and then I've said how each one helps the company. In fact, I've done 5. So you've got a nice, simple question there. So on to part D, we've got the company uses cloud computing for all its computing needs. So we've got to explain 2. Why does the company use cloud computing? So we're remembering that cloud computing is using software online for the company to work with. We've got to come up with 2 reasons why the company uses it. So not what it is or how they're going to use it, why they've chosen to use it. So my first one, my key point, I've said it allows collaboration. There's my point. So that staff can work on a task at the same time is my expansion. My second preferred answer would be that it can be accessed from anywhere with an internet connection, and my expansion, it allows you to work remotely. Then in pink, other answers that you could have given, but they're less obvious. So I've said it can run on less powerful devices. There's my point. My expansion, it saves costs. My final one, staff are working on the same latest version. So that is your point. And then my expansion, so everything is compatible. So nobody's working on a different version of the software, which means other people can't see what they're doing. Question 3, we've got a new scenario. We've got Hardback Library. It's one of many communities in the UK. So we've got a member of staff has received, and we've got here key information, suspicious email with an attachment. We've got explain 1 action that the staff member should take to prevent a possible malicious threat to the library systems. So explain 1 thing they should do when they've got a suspicious email. Explain, point plus expansion. So what I've gone for this one, my point is they should delete the email. And then my second mark, my expansion, it can't be opened to infect the system. Another one you could have gone for is that they could have scanned the attachment with the antivirus to check if there was any malware in it. So a nice simple one, it requires you to realise that the email with the attachment could cause the threat and what you've got to do. So still in task 3, we've got Hardback library and they've got an acceptable use policy that staff must follow. We've got to explain 2 possible acceptable behaviours that would be expected of the staff when they are using the library's digital systems. So we know that an acceptable use policy tells the staff what they can and can't do and all of the consequences from that. This one's asking us to explain 2 possible behaviours that would be expected. So 2 things staff must do. You've got to identify it and then explain it. So what have I gone for? My first one is that staff should have a strong password. That's my point. And then my expansion is it's unique to the system and it can't be guessed and it's harder to hack for my expansion. Another acceptable behaviour is not downloading from the internet. And why? Because they could get a virus from it. Others that are quite obvious that you might have gone for is that not using portable storage, and that's because it could have malware in it. Another one, we quite often talk about this with data security, is that they must lock the computer or log off when they're leaving the desk so nobody can opportunistically access the system when you've just left it logged on. So a nice easy one with acceptable use, 2 things that people have got to do and why. Still on the library, and we've got the library uses penetration testing. We've got this time to explain 2 reasons why the library is using penetration testing. So we've got 4 marks, point expansion twice, and they've nice and easily given us space for each of these. So I have given you my 2 reasons. So why are they using penetration testing? So my first point is to test their security, and my expansion is they can improve it if there are weak spots. So remember, penetration testing is where we employ a white hat hacker to try and break into our system like a regular black hat hacker so that we can fix anything. It's harder to come up with a second reason why they've done it. So a nice simple one is so that staff can recognise what the attacks look like and so they know what to do if it happens for real. On to part D. Now already I can see a lot of bullet points, so I'm fairly sure this is going to be my draw question. So it tells me when books are needed, the library buys them from a book publisher. Part of the process is library staff complete a book order on the book ordering system. The book ordering system sends the book order to the senior librarian for approval. The senior librarian approves the book on the book ordering system. The book ordering system then sends the book order to the book publisher. There we go, it is a draw and it's a data flow diagram this time. Now remember, there are 3 types of diagram you can be asked to do: a flow chart, an information flow and a data flow diagram. You've got to be sure that you know what each one is. So here's the one that I did earlier, and what I've done is I've taken each bullet point in turn. So the first thing I've got is library staff completing a book order on the book ordering system. Now the book ordering system is our central block, okay? So a data flow diagram is all about data flowing in and out of this book ordering system. So I start off, here's my library staff, and what's the first thing they do? They complete a book order. So here we go, it's a book order, and it comes down with a clear arrow pointing which way the data is flowing. The next one is the book ordering system sends the book order to the senior librarian. So here is my senior librarian. They're being sent the book order, so my arrow goes that way. It's a one way. The next bullet point, the senior librarian approves the book order on the book ordering system. So there's their approval, and it's going back to the book ordering system. The final one, the book ordering system sends the book order to the book publisher. So there's my publisher, there's my order, and there is it going to the publisher. So it's a nice simple 6 marker. The key is with any of these diagram questions is making sure that you check that you have done each step. Each bullet point will have a different bit of information for you to complete. You've got to make sure you've done all of it. But for a 6 marker, that's about as easy as it's going to get. Right, question 4, we've got a new scenario. This time we've got a veterinary surgery providing animal care services to pets and farm animals. Okay, fine with that, we all know what a vet is. So what's our question? Right, staff must follow rules on acceptable behaviour in the surgery. So they've got to follow the rules on their acceptable behaviour, no problem. What's it asking us to do? Right, it's asking us to describe possible sanctions the surgery could carry out for staff who do not follow the rules. So this one's a bit of common sense, it's a bit to do with acceptable use. We're looking here at what's going to happen if staff don't behave properly. So if they are not following the acceptable use policy. To describe, it's 4 marks, so they're looking for 2-point expansions. So what have I said? My point is staff could be given a warning. There's my point. And then what's my expansion? If they do it again, there'll be further consequences. So I've said suspended or sacked. So there's my point, there's my expansion. Next one, staff aren't following acceptable behaviour. What could the staff do? So I've said they might make them take a training course. There's my point, there's a sanction. What's my expansion? Well, they take the training course so that they don't make the same mistake again. So you've got 2 options. One's quite harsh, a warning, if they do it again they're sacked. The other option's a bit more gentle, take a course so they don't do it again. Obviously it's going to depend on, if you think they did it deliberately, you'd probably go in for the warning. If you think it was a lack of understanding, then you'll probably do the training course. Okay, part B. We've got some staff are using ad hoc networks to remotely access the surgery system. So remember, an ad hoc network is one of those networks we can just set up and connect to nice and quickly. It's not physical. So we've got to explain what is meant by it. Okay, so they're remotely accessing what's an ad hoc network, 2 marks, point expansion, nice and simple. So here we go. I've told you that it is a temporary network where devices are not connected through a central server. So that would be things like tethering or Bluetooth hotspots. So a nice simple one telling us what is an ad hoc network. On to our next one. We've got to explain one performance issue staff may have when they're using this ad hoc network. 2 marks, explain, it's a point expansion. So my key one I would always go for with an ad hoc network would be slow speeds, because there are a lot of users on the network. So anytime you use an ad hoc network, the more users there are, the slower it's going to become. As with anything that's Wi-Fi, you can get for your point interference from your furniture and your walls, and in this case it would give you a weak or slower signal, so it would be harder for you to do the work. So this just requires you to know what the performance issues are, which is generally going to be speed or interference. Part D, so we're on to our long answer questions towards the end of the paper. So let's have a little look at this one. So we've got the surgery is creating a website so that clients can have information about the service it provides for clients and to be able to book appointments. So we've got the surgery will use the booking system and the website cookies to collect data about clients and their animals. We've got to discuss the ways that the surgery can use the data it collects to improve its services. Now remember, website cookies, they're those small files that are put onto your computer from websites. They can track what you're doing. So it's a discuss question. A discuss question means that we need to consider the different aspects. So we've got to think about all the different ways they can use data to improve their services. We're thinking very much about the scenario. So this is a vet using a website, their booking system, and they want to collect information about clients and animals. So it's looking for detailed explanations. So for this one, I've gone for 4 paragraphs where I've clearly written a detailed set of information. So my first one, I've said they could look at the most popular appointment times, get more staff to work as they're busier, and then they could offer more appointments. So if they're seeing that people are booking evenings rather than daytime because people are at work, then they could improve their services by offering more appointments at popular times. I've suggested they could look at what animals people bring in the most and see if they could offer extra services for them. So I've suggested maybe selling food or accessories. So if you see that you're getting lots and lots of dogs, you could sell dog leads, dog toys, and it would make people like coming to the vets a bit more. My third one, I've tried to think about what I know about vets here. So I've looked at how often people visit and send out reminders when vaccinations are needed for pets. So thinking about dogs and cats need vaccinating, if you send reminders, it will make people sort of help them to remember, shall we say, and it means that you're offering them a better service. And then the last one is, I've said you could look at where people live and see if there's a market to open a branch in another area. So if you've got lots of people travelling to your vets, maybe you want to open a vet surgery nearer to them, save them travelling. Anything that you've got that is going to be linked to a vet and the data it's using and how it can improve is perfectly valid for this one. And our last one is our evaluate question. So we've got the new website is going to provide clients with information about the services the surgery provides. We've got to evaluate the layout design features that can be used for the website. So this one is going back to your PSA on user interfaces, getting you to think about design features. It is an evaluate question. So this wants us to think about, strengths or weaknesses, advantages and disadvantages, thinking about designing the website. So looking for 6 marks, it wants you to write an essay. So here's what I've gone for. So my first one, I've thought back to the PSA and I've said we need to think about user expectations. So I've said on a form, maybe thinking about booking appointments, data should be entered in a logical order. I've gone on, what else do I know about forms? Oh, if data is missing, flag it in red to show an error, talking about that colour recognition. Then I've gone on for, again, just like in your PSA, we're looking for an intuitive interface. We're looking for clear navigation in an obvious spot. And the reason I want that is to make it easier to use. Carried on, I've suggested we're looking for consistency of layouts and white space. I want that to make it easy to read and to understand. Your consistent layout stops people having to keep looking for things, so it is easier to use. I've gone on to say that information could be grouped logically. For example, and I've thought back to this question being about a website. So I've suggested they could have a page for cats and a page for dogs so that people can find what they need. So with an evaluate question like this, you've got to show a wide range of design features and you've got to give some useful information about them, making sure that you are linking it back to this question about a website which is offering you information. Hopefully this walkthrough has helped you understand how to better answer these questions. Remember, the structure of the paper is always going to be the same. You will have questions all about a topic. The next set of questions is about another topic. There's always an annotate. There is always a diagram, and it will always end with 2 long answer questions. Learning how to structure your answers is going to really help you to answer the questions within the 90 minutes. Obviously, I've written these questions beforehand, but as you can see, we've talked through them and it's taken well underneath the time that you would need for your exam. Good luck, everybody.